This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by Smut. Smut. When you live in Texas, it's pretty much all you have now. And now, on to the episode. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Chatter. As always, I am your host, Terri Doty. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. And if it isn't, welcome back. You lovely so-and-sos, it feels like I talked to you months ago, but also at the same time, like I just did this. Like, March is a weird month, and I also somehow forgot about daylight savings time. Like, there was just a point where I looked at my phone and called it a liar because I was like, I know it is not 11 o'clock. I don't know. Apparently, this supposedly started last year where they changed it instead of April and October to March and November or March and I don't remember this. If I am alone, fine. But I feel like there's like some Mandela effect. And it's just, it freaked me out for a second. Not gonna lie. Yeah, and my little sponsorship was definitely about a really, Texas just continues to be a very interesting place, and that's all I'm going to say on that. So, we are doing stuff a little differently. Thanks again to those that contributed. We had a lot more topic requests than questions. But also just in general, like, I typically do like what I've been watching, what I've been reading, possibly what I've been listening to at the end of the episode. And I found, especially with that last one, because we've been getting so into subjects like deep dives, it feels weird to jump out of that at the end to kind of go over what we've been listening to. So we're going to handle questions and shorter things like what we've been reading, what we've been watching. It's me. There's only one of me here, I promise you. The world can't handle more than one Terri Doty. At least there are other Terri Dotys, but that's a whole other thing. And I still apologize to the Terri Doty that does nails. I know I took that domain like seconds before you did, and I'm not sorry. Ha! There can be only one, according to many different properties. So there's that. Let's talk about music. Music I had talked about last time, and there was a big update. The big one was Queen of the Damned. I've talked about Queen of the Damned here and there. I'm a big fan of Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. And it seems as though the people that made Queen of the Damned were not fans of the Vampire Chronicles. If you're familiar with the books, you were very confused by the movie Queen of the Damned because they changed like Lestat's maker. We in no way reference Louis, and a whole mess of stuff. Basically, from what I can recall reading about it, is this is about music, I promise you. Is that they were about to run out of time to do anything before, like, whoever, I forget who did the movie, like who financed it or whatever. They were about to run out their contract. So like, fuck, we got to make, we did the Interview with the Vampire with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, and we have to do the other two books. So they created this weird amalgamation of the Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned. The Vampire Lestat is one of my favorite books of all time. Lestat is so messy, but I love him. That's not to say that it's a soundbite Steven and I do all the time when people are like, he's the best guy around. And the reporter is saying, what about the people he murdered? And then what murder? Like, I love him, but he's deeply flawed. But I love him anyway. I wasn't a fan, really, of Stuart Townsend in Queen of the Damned, but I still loved it, and Aaliyah was just getting started. I could talk about that all day. I loved her in the little bit that I got to see her in. Obviously, the big one that I remember her from, aside from Queen of the Damned, is Romeo Must Die. She was so immensely talented and taken way too soon. But the Queen of the Damned soundtrack, I was a huge Korn fan. I think I mentioned this last time. I had at least 6 different corn t-shirts, and I always paired it with like my big platform, like Payless platform things, and my like military green flared and a cardigan. It was the weirdest pairing, but I loved it. I loved corn. So Jonathan Davis was heavily involved in the soundtrack, and he was Lestat's voice in the movie, which some people really hated, especially if they know that Lestat was deeply influenced by Jim Morrison. That's who Anne kind of based Lestat on, which would be interesting for the show if that's kind of where maybe they take Sam Reed's musical career if they're able to do the Vampire Lestat storylines later on. But all that's to be said, I decided, since my birthday is on April 4th, I decided maybe the thing that I'm going to gift myself, I've been searching. I do a lot of VHS and CD hunting. I have been searching for another copy of Queen of the Damned. I lost the CD, and I really wanted to find a good copy in the wild. It just didn't happen. So, for those that don't know, Steven and I do this thing where we collect little stocking stuffers once a month for each other and just kind of hide it until Christmas time and put all the gifts. We like buy a gift a month. And what I didn't know was Steven had gotten Queen of the Damned, the Queen of the Damned soundtrack. So he's really doing his best to kind of, I'm like, hey, like, I found this one on eBay. I think it might be legit. The seller, da-da-da-da-da. Like, what do you think? And Steven's like, like, maybe wait. Something feels weird about that one. And then he just kind of kept, and then he finally is like, you're going to buy it when I'm not around. I know this. So, I have it here. Ta-da. And so I opened it, and yeah, it was a brand new Queen of the Damned CD. And I like teared up because I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how did you find it? And da-da-da. He's like, I just went to Tower Records website and ordered it. It's actually cheaper to get a brand new one than a used one off of eBay. Like, so yeah, I've just been listening to that on a loop. There are some, I really don't care for Marilyn Manson's soundtrack. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, oh my God, I was obsessed with this soundtrack, and I'm like, oh, right. Like Chester. Oh, I get to hear Chester from Linkin Park, Chester Bennington. I love him so much. And Jake Gordon and all these amazing people. Wayne Static and Static X's tracks are also, I could just talk about that. No, this is no longer obscure chatter. It's just hey, remember? And me vaguely talk about tracks of songs. No, but that's the big music thing. And it was a lot of fun. It really, really was, to just kind of have that surprise. But I'm also the most difficult person to surprise because I legitimately hate surprises. I am not the friend you want to try to do a surprise party for, da-da-da. People have tried in the past. Some more successful than others, like a boyfriend before Steven tried to set up something for my 21st birthday, and I ran into a friend at IHOP that's like, oh, hey, are we bringing other people, like, to your party? And my boyfriend's like, you motherfucker, she didn't know about this party. It's, oh, man, I'm sorry. I'm Jesse, by the way. It's like, fuck you, Jesse. Like, for my 30th, I'd been talking about missing going horseback riding, and I guess I just didn't think that Steven had set something up. But he set up, around here, I mean, we're in Texas. There are ranches and little horseback riding places all over, but you really have to look for the good ones. And my friend happened to be pregnant at the time, so I was like, oh, it was Colleen. And I was like, oh, he's like, oh, well, Colleen can't come because she's pregnant. And I'm like, why would she not be able to do whatever we're doing? She's like, well, she can't go horseback riding when she's pregnant. And I'm like, oh no! Colleen got a huge kick out of spoiling the surprise without even remotely being involved. But yeah, I guess I grew up in a very reactionary household. I was always kind of waiting for the mood to shift or whatever. So a surprise party is like one of the most like antagonistic things you can do to me. But I think sometimes if you play it right, it won't be that bad. And the Queen of the Damn thing was a lot of fun. I do hate that I ruined the surprise of like the stocking stuffer thing. But it was very, very sweet, and I've been listening to it a lot. If anyone else is looking for the CD, just go to Tower Records website. It's apparently much, much easier than dealing with someone that may or may not have a good review on eBay or wherever else you buy music. If there's like a better place to search for CDs on the internet, please let me know. Hook a girl up. Leave me a message the next time I open up the Google form for questions and topic requests. Movies were a little light. I don't know why. Like, maybe it's with the upcoming, Mercury in retrograde, or is it here? I don't know. Or as I jokingly refer to it, Mercutio in Gatorade. Please spread that like wildfire. Please enjoy. But nothing's really been like hitting me as far as like movies or shows. I've just been watching a lot of reality stuff, but I did watch Last Night in Soho by Edgar Wright, and I kind of feel like a lot of people slept on that. It's really, really good, but I also get it. It's not for everybody, but watch a trailer, I love watching Film Joy on YouTube, with Mikey Newman. He does a really good deep dive on it. Not really a big deep dive, but, I love his little video essays. And, let's see what else. Ocean's 8, which here's the thing. I hate heist movies. I've watched the original Ocean's 11, I watched the remake, and I watched the second one. And then I went, I'm out. Maybe it was the actors involved. Maybe it has to be a certain kind of heist. But like even like supernatural stuff, like Six of Crows, that series and stuff, like books, that's kind of heisty, or not kind of, it is. Those don't really thrill me. But Ocean's 8 was fun. I mean, it didn't reinvent the wheel or anything, but, that was okay. It was just okay. That's what we strive to talk about. And then, yeah, as far as like television shows, a lot of reality TV. I don't know about y'all, but I grew up where if there was a sick day, you were watching Judge Judy. So I've been watching Judy Justice on Freevee and MasterChef, which I'm a sucker for Gordon Ramsay shows. It is kind of funny to see like frozen dinners and stuff from him when and all the reality shows, like, it's frozen. It's not fresh frozen. No, it's not fresh. But yeah, when we were in Vegas, I got to try his beef Wellington. I love Gordon Ramsay shows, so MasterChef was an easy sell for me. It gives us food ideas, and yeah, aside from that, it's The Secret or Secrets, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on season 4, and I think they're officially out of material. Like, it just, they were just pulling at strings in a really weird way. I don't know. And then as far as books go, Stephen got me into Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. He is a huge Anthony Bourdain fan. We watched a bunch of, like, oh my God, what was the name of his show? What was the name of his show? Like, No Boundaries or something like that. Everyone's going to be like, Terri, I can't believe you didn't. But it was really, really good. But Kitchen Confidential, yeah, I guess I just slept on that. It takes a lot for nonfiction books to really grab me. But if you catch the audiobook, it's actually great because Anthony narrated it. So there's that. Checked out The Foxwife by, oh God, I forget the first name. It starts with a Y. Yangshi Chu, but The Foxwife, it just recently came out. Really good, interesting story that plays off of the fox mythology. I think anyone that's remotely interested in that, read the first 2 chapters, and you'll kind of know whether or not you're gonna like it. It's pretty interesting. I don't know. It was a very different read for me. I enjoyed it. And then I really like Kelly Orum's books. It's a good little YA series. Pretty clean romances. I know I read a lot of smut and a lot of erotica, but sometimes it's just like hey, like, will these crazy kids get together and maybe play with like off of the riff of, like Cinderella or the Beauty and the Beast or Alice in Wonderland. This one was playing off of Alice in Wonderland, called Alice in La La Land, and it's just about a girl that's trying to meet her father, and she goes to LA and goes through a bunch of stuff, but also finds love. Spoiler alert. But aside from that, revisiting books, I think we talk a lot about, like, oh, hey, yeah, read this, read that. There are books that, if I like them, I'll try to revisit them once a year, and sometimes it's I'm not feeling a reread right now. But it had been a bit since I'd visited The Ministry of Curiosities by C.J. Archer. I might have talked about that, but I finished it up. The Fixer series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I tend to like her older stuff more than her newer stuff. And then the Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I haven't really liked any of her other series, but I think she might be coming back to that. I will say I wasn't a big fan of what she happened to do to promote one of the books. Probably one of my less favorite books of the series, but she happened to promote it in a very weird way during the initial reaction to the death of Breonna Taylor. Look it up, and there are some other things, but like, it's that thing where I already liked this series beforehand. Sometimes what can really ruin your love of something is just knowing way too much about behind the scenes. But oh God, I totally missed the headline on as far as television. The biggest thing that is tied to that for TV series is Quiet on Set, which I do not have enough fucking time to remotely really cover how shocked and unshocking all of this was. Shocking and unshocking it was, because it just like delves into, here is why it is horrible to make your child the breadwinner. But my God, like, these children were not protected. Some of them, like, we were like kids at the same time. Like, watch it if you have the stomach for it. It can be triggering for a lot of people. I had to take it in installments, and I actually had to like work through some stuff after I saw that. That brought up some stuff for me. It really, really did, in a pretty fucked up way. But if you can handle it, like, watch a trailer, maybe, TikTok's got a couple clips or something. It's fucking wild, but also just fucking heartbreaking. So, as far as questions, let's see. We only got a couple. One I pulled from last time, which I want to know who asked this, but I don't at the same time. Is what is your favorite thing to pickle? I love pickles. Hate butter pickles, hate gherkins, sweet relish, anything like that. Like a good sour, like you're at a ball game pickle, or you're at the movies pickle, where you have to get like Twizzlers to kind of balance out the sour and the sweet. I just lost a bunch of people being like, you fucking like Twizzlers? I can't trust you. I get it. But I'm not a pickler. I don't know if I've ever pickled anything. Insert maybe obvious joke. Nah, don't do that. You're better than that. You're better than that. Stop. And then another one, which is tied into a topic request, was What movie does not need a reboot? And clarified, narrowing it down, horror movie, or what movie did not need one? And I thought about it, and then I just got hella distracted because obviously the big one, and it is a topic request because I did talk about it whenever we saw the trailer come out, which was the Bill Skarsgård, The Crow. I might have talked about an image leak or something to it. I'm not going to judge a movie I haven't seen based on the trailer, but you kind of showed me the whole movie in a 3-minute trailer. I think the Crow series as a comic is kind of hard to divorce from Brandon Lee. And for those of us that, like, I watched The Crow with my grandma, my very Mexican, barely speaks English grandma, and she loved it. She loved it. She also had a really, like, interesting obsession with, like, action movies, and I think Brandon Lee had done some, and obviously she was a big fan of Bruce Lee as well. But, yeah, like, she got it, and she, like, tore apart parts of it in a very interesting way, and I'll say, for some reason, there are friends of mine, when they saw the second one with Vincent Perez, they got up in the movie theater and started to applaud. And I am very confused. But that's a personal thing. It's like that one, I think they were trying to kind of play off of what Brandon did a little too much as far as the makeup and blah, blah, blah. But I'm glad that they didn't just be like, oh, hey, here's Eric again. Like, there's a Crow television show where it was about Eric. And then there was a third one with Eric Mabius. And I low-key really like this one. It has not stood the test of time. There are things about it where I'm like, oh, right, I was a teenager in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's why I like this movie. But Eric Mabius, I was also really into him because of Resident Evil and Ugly Betty. And Kirsten Dunst is in it. Does it reinvent the wheel? No, but I dig it. But, so, like, I feel like I'm kind of like, there's someone that really liked the Vincent Perez one going, well, you like the third one? You can't talk. And guilty. And then there was a fourth one with Edward Furlong, like Wicked Prayer. And it definitely was like, oh, who's hot right now? Tara Reid, David Boreanaz. And I made it about 20 minutes in and I had to stop. It takes a lot for me to stop a bad movie because sometimes I'll find a way to still be entertained. It was just bad to me. But all that being said, in the comics, there are, I want to say, don't quote me exactly, don't know what that voice was, but there are at least 7 crows. At least. 7 seems right, but I feel like it's more and also less. So let's just say, yeah, roughly 7 crows. I don't think we needed to reinvent Eric and Shelley's storyline. I also think as far as the movie, the Brandon Lee one, it does play with tropes that I fucking hate. I hate rape as a plot device. I can't. And I also, it's the, what was it? The wife in the fridge trope, like the thing where like someone, like the love interest, the female love interest specifically, has to die as a motivator. Obviously, because of the Crow mythology, that, like, it is the trope. Like, but for the second one, I actually like that it wasn't like a romantic love interest. It was his son and all that stuff. But, I don't know. I just don't like, I'm a big tattoo fan. I thought the tattoos were very, like, weird place. A lot of people have brought up, like, it looks like, said, hey, can I get, like, an AI Jared Leto Joker? And then also with a crow prompt. That's kind of what it looked like to me. But Bill is amazing. So I would love to really eat my words. I hope it's great and that I'll be like, fuck. But yeah, there are reboots and stuff where I'm like, oh, or, I talked about how I didn't mind the Thing prequel that came out in like 2011 last time. I'd argue we didn't need to know. We don't need like prequels or reinventions or anything like that. But obviously The Crow is the big one. Movies that don't need a reboot. There are movies that I love. Like, I loved the book by Stephen King, Carrie. Love it. Everybody groaned at the sequel. And they're like, oh, they're redoing it. But I'm a product of being a teenager in the late 90s, early 2000s. I loved it. The sequel. But Carrie is one of my favorite books. I don't think we needed a mini series with Angela Bettis. I don't think we needed a really weird, immediately dated one with Chloe. I forget her last name. She was Hit Girl in Kick-Ass. That one was really triggering in a lot of ways. Because you know what? If we're gonna do that, if we're gonna do Carrie, how about we tie into why they decided to pour pig's blood on Carrie in the first place? Carrie was a fat girl, plus size girl. Love right here. Like when people are like, hey, who's your favorite plus size protagonist? I'm like, Carrie White. As a plus size girl myself, Carrie was awkward. She was really awkward in the book. Like everybody's made her a lot more likable than I think she is in the book. She's just awkward and she has no chance or really, she has no chance at being normal with her mother. I don't think we need to keep trying to make Carrie right. There are things I like about the miniseries. There is really nothing I like about the one that came in like 2012. I want to say it was maybe a little younger than that, but I don't know. And the first one is a classic. I thought it was interesting for one of the audiobooks that I saw through my local library. Sissy Spacek narrates it, and that isn't horrible. But yeah, I don't think we needed a bunch of Carries. I don't think we needed... I'm really tired of seeing Resident Evil stuff, and I loved that franchise, and I loved the first movie. And I love Mila Jovovich. She's amazing. But I was bored, often. Did I still watch them? Yeah, I'm a horror dork, obviously. I barely remember the last one where it's like, Alice is a clone too. What? I don't know. Which Alice? I don't know. But yeah, that's the first one that comes to mind is Carrie. I love the Ninja Turtles, but I really want to see the new one. I think those are fun, especially like when maybe for this one I heard like they are actually like played as teenagers, rather than some just really angry New Yorkers in turtle costumes. But I love those angry New Yorkers in turtle costumes, damn it. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else immediately. For horror, obviously, I'm a big horror fan. One thing I hope they don't reboot, and it's a weird one, I think it's just too much a product of its time, is the 1985 Return of the Living Dead. It's one of my favorite horror films. And yeah, it references the Romero stuff, but it's also its complete own thing. Like, these zombies cannot die. Can't die. But yeah, like it's the gutter punk movement, the splatter punk movement, like it's just fun. But I can see why somebody wouldn't be into it. I don't know how you would reboot that. And let's hope they don't. Let's see. What else? I'm gonna drink a little. topic request, and I think some of these stem from just posts that I've made in the last month. Like I talked about Neve Campbell coming back for Scream, and how I'm not supporting that as a horror fan. And some people are like, oh well, like your ticket is going to make the difference. Like, no, it's just shitty because of why Neve is coming back. And I still stand behind Melissa Barrera and everybody else that decided to support her along the way. And this is my way of supporting her, because Melissa shouldn't have been let go. Regardless of whether or not you like where the franchise was going before that, Sydney's story should have been done a while ago. You can't keep. I'm not going to pretend the sequels at all. Like, I can watch Scream on its own. Scream 2... I cried in the theaters when Randy died. Spoiler alert, sorry. I cried because I saw myself in Randy, which should shock nobody. But yeah, the third one it had its moments. It was kind of like anticlimactic for, for the only killer of that one, to, reveal himself, and for Sydney to be like, who are you? Who the fuck are you? There was no like, and then there's 4, which is also there. But I think, I don't think Wes Craven was perfect. There were things that he did in his movies that I fucking hated. I don't understand the hype of Hills Have Eyes. Do not come for me, because I don't fucking care. There are just things where it's like, whoa. And there are parts of that in the Scream franchise as well. It was an impossible thing to, come back. There was Scream 5, Scream 6. Scream 6 could end there, and it'd actually kind of be okay. But I can't support it. Just like I can't support, Late Night with the Devil, which was another topic request. I was so hyped about this movie. Again, guys, I watch things that aren't horror, but I've really haven't been into anything that's come out, recently. I can't think of, okay, Barbarian was good, but I don't know, in the last year, I can't tell you there was a horror movie that I'm like, excellent. But I was really hyped for Late Night with the Devil. But finding out that they used AI, there are a bunch of people that tried to come for me on various socials, and I had my website attacked a couple of times because I've been very vocal about my distaste for AI as a replacement to creatives. AI is a tool for creatives and nothing more. It should be nothing more. Because, I don't want to read a story by not a human being. Art is human. Art is humanity. As a voice actor, I'm constantly worried about someone replicating my voice. As a writer, it is impossible to look for jobs right now without there being an AI component to the job itself, or applying for the job, or fucking both. That's just the way it is. And mine isn't very specific. To that. This was AI art that they claimed that they later tweaked. If they tweaked it, that means they didn't ever have to do the AI art. And they're saying it's only 3 images. Those images are pretty fucking prominent throughout the movies, from what I've heard from people that watched it and people that just dissected it whenever it came out on Shudder a while ago. And now it's got this film release. And again, the lead, who I don't remember his last name, it's David. We're going to call him David D. I've been a fan of his since, honestly, I remember him. He had a very short scene in The Dark Knight, and I was like, who is this man? I'm going to see this dude in more stuff. And I did. Kept seeing him pop up all over the place. I was really happy to see him as a lead. And I can't support the movie. Just can't. Yeah, I don't think it's asking too much, to just... I don't know. Another topic request I got is about the disappearance of physical media. I'm hoping that they're kind of learning their lesson right now. I noticed as I'm searching for VHS, DVDs, CDs, that the good shit's getting expensive. And it's because, a lot of us got rid of some stuff because we went, oh, it's going to be streaming. And then we thought we were going to be fine, but it's just everything's got to be like a subscription, everything, even like what I'm recording on right now, Pro Tools. I used to just be able to buy Pro Tools and use it. I have to do a subscription to pay monthly to continue to have access to Pro Tools. Or like figure out a whole other software that isn't my preference. Like everything is a subscription. Nothing, you don't own anything anymore. That's what it feels like. So when I physically get a copy of something, I feel better. Like 28 Days Later, what made us know who Cillian Murphy was? It's out of production. Or, like they, apparently those, they've requested that any copy in the wild be, sent back, da-da-da-da-da. So what did I do? Went to Horror Freak, got a copy of that and the sequel that I really only watched for the opening scene because holy shit. But, I don't get it. So when I see something I love, like my last, VHS hunt, I found, Long Kiss Goodnight and Death Becomes Her and a few other things. I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm so glad I have these again. Because I was dumb enough to get rid of them in the first place. Physical media should stay. But there are things, where actors are involved, and their shows are coming to an end and they don't have physical copies of their stuff. Really, really sucks. I don't get, I don't get free copies anymore, which I've mentioned before from anime and movies and video games. And I'm not expecting that, but damn it, I want to be able to buy it and just kind of have it with me to brag about and have on my little, merch wall, whatever you want. It's not that hard, people. I guess tied to my job, I got asked what is my opinion about localizing a script with personal bias. I was confused about this one. I'm sure there's a story there, and I both want to know it and never want to know it. But there are things that I've done as the writer of a foreign property that you're bringing to an English audience. And I would get notes from higher ups that no longer work in the industry. So we'll keep that. That would be you stuck too close to the translation. Does it fit and work for it? And it's too close to the translation. So I would be a little more loosey-goosey with it. And yeah, that's perfect. And I would hate it. I don't really think it's my job as an adapter to attempt to tell a different story than what is there in the original language. I'll say that we have to make it smooth and entertaining, but I think there's a way to do that without changing storylines or anything like that. That said, there was Baka and Test. This is forever ago. I remember distinctly meeting with the head writer of that. I was the voice director of the first season. And okay, so what are things that we're worried about in the scripts? And we just met up at Subway. So this was a while ago because I don't go to Subway anymore. Baka and Test was 2010, I think, when I recorded it. Maybe 2009. Maybe. But there were references to Coda's character where everybody kept calling him Mussolini, and we're we get the reference after a second, so we okay, what's something like Mussolini that people would get? And nobody ever complained about that, at least not to my face. And then there were two very openly obvious gay characters. One played by Christy Kang and another played by Joel McDonald. And what we saw in the Japanese was that there would be people that it's like, well, why is he talking to me like that? Doesn't he realize I'm a boy too? Or she's so weird. I don't understand why this girl is bothering me. Like, she's so weird for liking me like that when I'm a girl. Those aren't direct references, but we tweaked it ever so slightly to where it's just played for humor and not played as blatantly homophobic. But honestly, watching it back, like watching the Japanese, I'm like, I think maybe we were just possibly overthinking it, but playing it safe too. So our entire community could enjoy it without feeling as though we were punching down. But I think that's something that needs to happen with more than just yourself. Like, I wrote the entire series of Sakura Wars, and I wasn't familiar with the series at all, really. And so what did I do when I found out that I was going to be writing it? I watched as much as I could in both Japanese and English of various dubs that had happened over the years. And this is a pretty long-running franchise. And then I found out the series that I'd be working on, Sakura Wars the Animation, is actually a sequel to a video game that we weren't dubbing also. So I was really nervous about that. So what did I do? I bit the bullet and I bought it with my own monies and just wrote it off. And played the game as much as I could. I am not a gamer. So I played as much as I could and then watched other people play it on YouTube. And watched out all the different scenarios because it's actually like 3 games in one. It's actually a lot of fun. So what I did was I took a bunch of notes and then let each episode come in. And there were things where it's like, all right, they're not saying what's wrong with Clara here. I'm going to assume, based off of this and what happens later in the show, that it's retrograde amnesia. Nobody says that in the Japanese, but I said it, and no. And it's hey, there's a demon reference here. And people got a little snippy with me on the internet about this. It's probably one of the only things they got snippy with me over is, well, the show says, like, this is the first time that there's like a human demon hybrid. And that's not the case. This happened here. This happened here. And that's where I had to push back and be like, yes, but that's not noted in the show itself. So for these characters, I have to assume that to them, they think this is a new thing. And the response was like, yeah, but it's not new. Like, it's happened in Sakura Wars before. I'm like, I understand what you're saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? And just kind of left it there. See, because a part of me could have just been like, oh God, we have to change this because da-da-da-da-da. Not all characters know everything that's happening within the story. We, as the reader or watcher, do. And so had to leave it there. Laughing Under the Clouds. I was in the first broadcast dub, which we call them simuldubs now, or do we still call them simuldubs? Laughing Under the Clouds was a great series. And I play an adorable character named Chitaro in that. I'll say it's a pretty popular franchise, but the anime, I don't think ever got the love that it deserved. So almost a decade later, there are 3 movies that are direct sequels, and the mangas themselves are reflective of these sequels. And they were by 11 Arts, and I heard that it was coming down the line through the studio, Okratron, which I'd worked with a ton and kind of campaigned to write it. Like, sent, my bid and everything. And like, I really know the show and I'm really a big fan of it. So I got it, even though I wasn't the original writer on the series. And only the first 2 movies had translations. So for the third one, Okratron actually hired a translator that had never worked on the series before. She knew nothing about it. So there were things that were confusing to her translation because she has no history with the franchise. So this is where, I always use that as an example of This is why when people are like, oh my God, I can't believe the dub like took this deviation because this translation is blah, 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 blah. The thing is, even translations can have a point of view. And, you know, the translator was like, oh, hey, this character's clearly got this type of accent. So I let her say like y'alls and da to differentiate her from this. And I played off of that. But yeah, you know, we do what we can to adapt it without taking away from the original story. I will say that obviously I got asked this about personal bias because something happened. I couldn't find it immediately. I don't keep up with some stuff. Honestly, I love the shows that I've been a part of, but I haven't been watching a lot of anime recently. A couple of things here and there, but I haven't. I haven't been feeling it recently. I've been watching stuff that I'm in and being like, oh my God, I forgot about this. It's kind of fun to revisit. But I've definitely seen shows growing up that are very much like what the fuck are you doing? Like this, what was it? The big one, Brock and Pokemon, is holding like a delicious jelly roll, and he's holding like onigiri or something. Maybe not onigiri. It doesn't matter. But that was something for a localization team when they asked to see some of my work when they were going to consider hiring me. They did not hire me. Let's just leave it at that, so you can guess on who this is. They wanted me to explain why I didn't localize like food on screen, like where the food on screen would be like sushi. And they're like, yeah, but like who really eats sushi? I'm like, bitch, I do. And I'm from Philadelphia. So, you know, if you see that, it might like think about other foods. Maybe they're off screen. Think about like hamburgers, tacos, and like, whoa, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting my name to that, let alone doing it. Like, or vice versa. I think we're past that point. And I think if you do make significant changes, that they are with the very vehement permission. Vehement, is that the right word? Whatever. The biggest permission is by the licensor. If Business Daddy says it's okay to change this, and they're willing to stand behind you and publish it, then you should be golden. What you're not gonna do is shit talk it personally on social media. I'm guessing that has something to do with it. But yeah, I don't think it makes anybody look good to shit talk like an overall franchise that you put your name on. If you really felt that strongly about it, you shouldn't have done it. Yeah, I don't think it's our jobs when we are in the roles of adapters to like make something original. That's for your shit. Like, I wrote a book. Like, go write a book. Go write your own screenplay. Go write, you know, your own webcomic, whatever like that. Don't put that shit in shit that you did not create. I am so proud of the stuff that I've written. And there are some things that I've written. I'm like, oh my God, I wish someone had policed me more. I said this word way too fucking much. My God. Like, one thing that makes me cringe a little is, Shikabane Hime, Corpse Princess. I fucking love that, but I was learning as I went. And I definitely think I got it because, as a scriptwriter, as well as, I got it as a scriptwriter because I was already voice directing some of it. I wish that I'd found a way around saying Shikabane every 5 seconds. Like it's a joke. It was a joke, like at the studio for a while, like, oh, hey, Terri, Shikabane. Oh, excuse me, Shikabane. Like, da-da-da. And I can watch that and be like, yeah, but what was, okay, cause then you have to think like Shikabane. That's 4 flaps, at least. Shikabane hime. Okay, that's 6 flaps. This person says she's a shikabane hime all the time. What am I going to fit in 6 flaps all the time? It can't be corpse princess. That's 3. Corpse princess. Always phonetic. Corpse princess. Or not phonetic. I don't know. I'm rambling. But yeah, there are definitely cringe moments. I think everybody has those. It sucks as a writer sometimes your cringe moments are very, very public. Also as an actor too. My God. You have to have a thick skin. But you also have to have a healthy dose of humility. Don't leave that shit for, your group chat, something like that. Don't post it anywhere. If you hated it, just don't do it again. I don't even care if you did it for free. Just shut your fucking mouth. God. Woo! And just with that in mind, what was it? Yeah, there are things that I don't like that I never, ever talk about with you guys. And I talk to you guys about a lot of shit. Like, maybe too much. But, yeah. So I hope that topic request was everything you hoped for, dreamed of. Yeah. Yeah, I had so many different references that I was like, okay, I kind of try to keep track of what happened to me between episodes to kind of have an idea of like what to talk about. So I'm not going, without, it just being over dramatic. But I did have AI a lot. Like AI, I know there's talk of replacing it in so many different things. And I hope that's not the case. But whenever like somebody is shit talking like a job that they agreed to do, it helps the conversation about, well, why do we need whiny humans to do this? So, maybe think about the bigger picture. We're not always the main character. Sometimes we have to step out of the spotlight and give someone else their fucking minute, However you want to interpret that, enjoy. Yeah. And I think I've always been pretty opinionated through the age of social media. People are like, oh yeah, no, like Twitter, da-da-da. I'm like, bitch, I used to code my MySpace page, okay? I used to like fuck with people that pissed me off through the bulletin boards and all that stuff. And the moderators did not give a fuck. I was a little troll sometimes. I really, really was. But I mean, social media, it's hard to not see that a lot of people are kind of only seeing us as social media outside of, what our actual jobs are. And it's like, hey, why aren't you commenting about this? Why aren't you doing that? And because I have, I think, a relatively smaller group of followers on Instagram, Twitter, oh my God, I would say Blue Sky, but Blue Sky keeps crapping out on me. I enjoy social media. I enjoy sharing with y'all and my family and friends. Sometimes it's the only way people are keeping up with me. Like I had my brother reach out to me because a friend of a friend found me on TikTok, and I haven't talked to that guy in years. And it was, looks like you're doing well. I'm like, well, yeah, it's social media. Am I supposed to really show when I'm having a shit time? I mean, for some people, maybe that's their brand. But me, I think, even though my followings through various socials are small, I like to let people know where I'm kind of standing on issues. I know that's not the case for everybody, but I think if you have millions, hundreds of thousands to millions of followers, I'm torn because I kind of want to say you do have something of an obligation, especially if you refer to yourself as an influencer. The word influence is right there. So, torn. But then also, as influencers, there's only so much that people share online. So when it's like, hey, why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you saying anything? It's like, dude, because like my mom died. My mom's not dead, I think. Anyways, it's, we don't know what people are going through offline, but at the same time, I think it's pretty hard not to, I think it's actually harder not to say anything when you have a bigger platform. I've just seen some people that, excuse me as I scratch my ear. I've just seen some people being like, well, like, what the hell? Like, I'm not an expert in this. I'm not an expert in that. I'm like, you know what? Neither am I. But it took me, following people that are more schooled in it to like give me a basic rundown of some stuff. And just from the little bit of context I'm able to grasp, go, holy shit, this is fucked. I want people to know that I think this is fucked. And, lost followers. I know people sometimes, like, especially if they know me just from anime, like, it's oh, you're not talking about anime. I don't want to do this. Like, well, no, because I'm a person. I want to talk about reproductive rights. I want to talk about human rights. I want to talk about, I want to talk about everything. And if you do not like it, leave. You're really not going to sway me by saying, by the way, I hate that you're talking about this. It's not going to faze me at all. Sorry. But yeah, I've seen like friends of mine get bullied off of social media, just off of like misinformation and all that. And they are more often than not women. And we just got to do better, people. If you're a fan, know what being a fan actually means. Like being a bully or believing like an uncredited source, anything like that. It's just fucking wild to me. If you know, you know. If you know, you fucking know. Oh my gosh. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what else to do on that. I really, really don't. It's been a weird time. Like to just even like, what was it? There's a friend of mine. She's an amazing makeup artist. Like we met working at, the ad place that I used to work at. We met just doing simple stuff together. We kind of like when we met, we looked at each other like, I don't know if I like you. And she's like, I don't know if I like you. And then like 2 seconds later, we're like telling like the most insanely detailed, like fucking vulgar jokes to each other very loudly, you know, being like, okay, no, sorry, we got to start talking about this amazing product and act all cookie cutter corporate professional. But since both of us have left that space, we've kept up a friendship. And one thing is she's very active on social media. Beautiful woman and a great mom, loving wife, and just all around a really awesome friend. Like this, she's the kind of friend that will cut a bitch for you. And who doesn't need more of those in their lives? But one thing is, she has been very, very straightforward and very truthful about, her mother, as her mother, lives with them and suffers from dementia and Alzheimer's. Forgive me. It's very similar to what Stephen's mother Judy went through. So we kind of bonded a little further from that. Like she posts about stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I'd known that. That would have been an interesting thing to try with Judy. Or sometimes I'll recommend a book that like helped Stephen out and all that. But she posts these amazing stories and reels, specifically on Instagram, where she's very patient with her mother in such a beautiful way. Like anytime she posts about her mother, I cry. And then after I've cleaned myself up a little, I'm like, hey, by the way, I love you. And you are so fucking beautiful for sharing this with people. Cause I wish that I saw more people doing that, but I 100% understand it is not an easy thing to share. It's fucking hard. But, she had posted something about her mom and got one of like the most insane comments I've ever seen in my entire life. And it got to her. It got to me. She was a little radio silent for the rest of the day and did my like, hey, do you want to talk? And didn't hear anything. And it's because it's this strength and superiority of the anonymity that is the internet. I think someone much more tech savvy than me could probably figure out who this person was and all this stuff. But it's just like, what did that do for this person? Like, I'm so baffled, and it just kind of keeps happening more and more. Like, obviously, Twitter is worse. I get a lot of spam, and people want to remind me that I'm not skinny, which it's like, you're a little late to the party. I'm about to be 40. I am very aware I'm not skinny. At my skinniest, I was my most unhealthy, so you can just fuck the fuck off to Fucktown. Fucky. Adios. But I don't know, like, and the next day, my friend, just cleaned herself up, put on some beautiful makeup, and fucking continued about her day. But, her life. I'm so sick of it. I'm just so fucking sick of it. I'm sick of so many things. That is, like, what's weird is, Stephen and I hung out with our friends Aaron and Sarah last night. And both the way there and the way back, they're only 20 minutes away, but it actually took like 40 minutes with the most angry traffic in the entire world. Everybody was just kind of insanely hard. Like, we kept getting cut off when we were in our lane. We were going the speed limit, and there was someone in front of us going 20 miles under, but the person behind us, like, rearing us. I'm like, we're about to die. I have deep anxiety from being hit by a car when I was 13, getting hit by a car, and the second the driver realized I wasn't dead, he drove off. I have a deep trauma from that. I got a skull fracture. I'm partially deaf because of this man. And like, I almost didn't get my driver's license, but here in Texas, at least, public transit is really hard. It's just not the way the area is set up. So you have to drive everywhere, but everybody's so angry. Everybody's just trying to get somewhere. I'm like, I would actually be fine showing up 20 minutes late as long as I don't have a panic attack and or get murdered while trying to get there. Oh my gosh. And so that leads me to the last topic request that I got, which was, it's a question, but it's a fair one. And I think this is roughly where we'll leave off. The question is, why does altruism feel like it's fading? And I'm pretty sure I know who asked this. Do not reveal yourselves. I do enjoy the anonymity of the form. But I totally get you. Because, for those who don't know, altruism, it's wanting to help someone without any expectation. It's kind of like reflective of hey, we're not always the main character. I'd argue that very rarely are we the main character. I think it's important to be a supporting role sometimes. But I got this question. I felt this question in my bones. Like somebody was ready to ask. And I'll say that when COVID started, I got really, really weird about going out. Even like going out for a walk with no interaction with other people. I got really weird. My anxiety was at an all-time high, and I don't think that's shocking. I think all of us got there. But I don't know if that ever went away. And so because we all started staying at home more, I feel like that possibly didn't help. You know, altruism definitely has taken a hit. And obviously with the world right now, I've stopped speaking to family, like family that I've adored for years, because some of the most vile stuff they've said about the Palestinian people. And so there's one camp that will definitely be like, it's your family, and you don't know any of these fucking people, but you know that family member. Like, yeah, but what does it say when they could say some of the most vile shit to just someone that's starving? Someone who's lost over like 30 members of their family, entire bloodlines obliterated. And you can't share a link to clarify misinformation. You can't find it in your heart to maybe learn something new or relearn something, unknow a very false thing. Because the main thing for a lot of people is, how does this affect me? I can't answer that for you. I really can't. There is this prevalence of the individualist. We're encouraged to like chase down success, chase down our dreams, and often at the expense of other people. It is not a me mentality that we should be aspiring to, but we're doomed because that's constantly what we're being told. Like, don't take no for an answer. Da-da-da-da-da. Trust no one. Be skeptical. Like, cynical. I am all about being sarcastic, and because of my background, I'm often very incredibly cynical and skeptical. It's just the way it is. It's hard now, because of everything that we've experienced and we've been taught over the years, to trust helping. To trust that helping is enough. When it doesn't serve you at all, it's really hard. Like, I've given people way too much money and being like, who the fuck was that? Like, it was nobody. I don't know this person, but this person is crying, holding her like baby. And I have money that I would love to spend on like a new pair of shoes, but I would also, maybe be okay with just the idea that this woman's going to take this money and get some food. Or hell, maybe I'll get her some food. But there was it happened from a parent. There was somebody that literally, was holding her baby and asking for her and her kids that were behind her for some money. I gave her some money, and my mother was just like, you don't know that she was going to spend that on food. She could have been an actor. Da-da-da. Like, no, I don't know. But I could help, so I did. It really is that simple. Like, there was, I don't know if I've ever told this story. There was, my father who, it was my last summer with him before he passed away. This is months before he passed away. And he lived in South Texas in a very small town called Three Rivers. We were coming back from dinner or a movie, and there's a lot of country around there. And there are just whole parts of, highway roads that have no light, nothing. So as we're driving in his Ford 350, with the diesel revving, all that, really high up off the ground, we see just this woman walking barefoot along the side of the road. And she's crying. So my dad turns around and meets her back up, and there are just tears running down her face. So my dad's like, do you need help? And she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't live here. And she's in like concert gear. Like she's wearing like, a low cut tank and a skirt, and her heels are in her hand. Cause, it was clear she'd been walking for a while. So we found out, like he was like, my name's LD. This is my daughter, TJ. Remember, nobody called me Terri in my family. When people call me Terri in my family, it's weird. This is my daughter. Like, what's going on? She's like, apparently her and her boyfriend were on their way to Ozfest, and they got into a huge fight, and he pulled over and just left her on the side of the road. We asked how long she'd been walking. It had been at least 2 hours. It was pretty dark. At least 2 hours. I want to say it was more, but she's crying. She doesn't have a cell phone because this is like 2004. Not everybody had a cell phone yet. I barely had gotten one at this point. And my dad's like, well, a couple things. I could let you borrow my phone and see if somebody answers. So she tried to call her boyfriend and he didn't answer. And texts might have been a thing, like prevalently, but like, yeah, da-da-da. And so she left him a voicemail and it's like, yeah, no. And so get in. So there's a couple things we can do. He's like, so you can stay the night at our house. Like you can take my daughter's room and, you can have a bed and, figure out like how to get you home in the morning. Or I can drop you off at the truck stop, which you'll probably have to wait, but maybe, and I'll give you a couple bucks, and get yourself something to eat and some change for the payphone, and then, figure out how to get you home that way. Cause I know you don't know me, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I don't know, like, my dad was not a perfect man. But there was something about seeing him go out of his way for this woman. I mean, he definitely was just like, like, I know this isn't a setup or anything. She's like crying, like, it's not. He's like, I'm just saying, like, da-da-da-da-da. So it's oh man, but you have to be careful. It's the country, guys. Sometimes people pull over and get their asses jumped. No, like, we stayed with her and let her just kind of take a breath. We had water in the car, all this. And really, she finally just was like, oh, if you're still offering, please take me to the truck stop. And we gave her, like, or my dad gave her, like, his cell. And he's like, whenever you do, like, get a ride, please call us. And by the morning, if you still don't have a ride, let me know. She called us that morning and was able to, get a ride back. I hope to God she was okay. But I never forgot that. And I don't think I ever will. It's because outside of altruism, which is fading, I agree, there could have been another person. There might have been other people that drove right past her, or they were in a hurry. Da-da-da-da-da. It was late at night, They had places to be too. Fuck her. Who is she? I don't know her. And my dad just took a chance. And that could have meant life or death for her. And he didn't know this woman. It's hard. I don't think altruism has disappeared entirely. It's there. It's just gotten a fuck ton more subtle. Like when someone does something nice for me, I hate this, but your first instinct is to be suspicious. And isn't that what we should be focusing on? Why we can't trust help sometimes? I don't know. I totally get where this question is coming from. Acts of kindness without any gain personally, I understand they don't, I think now what's always so jarring to me is when someone is being helpful, but they're recording themselves being helpful. Like, you're making content. Put down the fucking phone and still help. Like, I'd love to hear about the story in the abstract. Not everything has to be content. Not everything has to be an amazing story that paints you in the best light, and that's probably why you did it. I don't know. I could do with less subtlety as far as altruism goes. It definitely could. We just got to be better. We just got to be better. We have to nurture empathy. We have to encourage compassion. We have to see ourselves as part of a community. If you consider yourself the main character, do you want to be the main character that isn't sharing the stage? Because that's probably going to be not the best play to watch. I love it when people just do shit because they would feel weird if they didn't. Not out of like, oh, I better do this, people are watching, da-da-da. Like, just do it because it's the right thing. Is that so hard? I never know fully where a show is going to go, and this one definitely feels like a lot, but not enough. I always finish a show and then ask to be kind of left alone for a second to absorb really what all we covered. And I really hope that there was some stuff that you guys took away from this. You're like, holy shit, da-da-da-da-da. Perhaps examine, in your own personal day-to-day, like where you think there's some subtle or more obvious examples of altruism. Speak your truth, but if it's a truth that is going to upset people, say it anyway. It's that joke, say the weird thing, what people consider weird. I used to really, really be concerned with not pleasing everybody. And I think it's important to know emphatically you are not going to please everybody. I think you need to stop thinking about what everyone's going to think and think about you. What do you think of you? Do you think you're a kind person, a compassionate person, a nurturing person? I hope so. If you're listening to this show, there's a high probability that you are. You guys are pretty great. As always, if you are enjoying the show, please let me know. Leave us a review wherever you're listening. I want to thank everybody that has submitted something for the show. Love it. Love hearing from you guys. And you guys asked some really great stuff and requested some really great topics. When I see you next time, I will be 4 decades old officially. So, try not to send me too many old maid gifts and stuff like that. But I love you guys. I hope this episode finds you well. As always, read good shit, watch good shit, and try not to be a shit. Until next time. Bye.